a runway Rona.
This girl is Corona.
Yes?
She bad like a crab. And if I tell you about Rona, she's the hardest hard. She touch up all them business owner, interfere with big entertainer all around the town. A man with a bunker singing this song.
Hear what we say? Runway Rona.
Girl is a dirty vampire.
Runway Rona. You know you're watching is a negative test. Go away Rona. Go away Rona. Yes? Well, not the murder part, right? Welcome to episode 84 of the Corey Shepherd Podcast. The negative test episode of the Corey Shepherd Podcast. COVID-free. Back on the street. Well, I ain't sure if I'm back on the streets yet, eh?
She catch me again in the bad ways. I gone looking for sex. My hands skip a beat now. Why you not shout me body?
Go away Rona. Welcome back to all the new listeners. Who is welcome back? Welcome back to everybody who's been listening, and welcome to all the new listeners. Oh, that song better. Listen, this is episode 84. You're finding this on any of your podcast apps on YouTube or anywhere you get audiobooks or anywhere. All you know is to find me right now, right? I am officially COVID-free. I want to thank the people at... I don't even know what's the name of these people now. I'm talking to my guy Jade and he told me, boy, it's a home testing. And I get a WhatsApp number again. Already number 2, 356-1099. WhatsApp them people. There are 3 different kind of tests. Are ads from the beginning of the thing, right? I didn't take a negative test as payment for any of these ads. I just put in my disclaimer there. This is not any fraudulent thing. I just helping share information for you. 356-1099. I think I said the number is right. So they have the FlowFlex test, which is $225. That is one test. That is the one I take. They have the Access Bio COVID-19 Antigen Home test. That is $450. It's 2 tests in one. The guy was explaining to me that is really for people who need to test themselves twice. It's not like you get 2 in the box and they can test you and your wife, right? And the last one is also 2 in the same box. Binax now COVID-19 antigen test. So all these COVID-19 test people, I wish I knew their name, but thanks to them, it was very, very quick. I messaged them this Sunday. You could pay online because, of course, at that point, I don't want to expose nobody to nothing. So I don't want to exchange cash with nobody or nothing. But I paid it online through online banking. They came and they delivered the same Sunday. When I paid them, I sent them the confirmation. They came maybe within an hour or 2, drop it off. I tell them my car was parked outside. I said, just rest it down on my car. Not good. And they did that. So salute and thanks to them. They even follow up with me today just to see how it went and if everything was okay. Because I explained to them I had it already and I was just testing to see if I could mingle with the family again. So I'm glad to see my son and my wife again. They had me, they locked me off completely. I can't see them at all. I can't play with the dog. I ain't seeing them. Every time I open my door, I hear in Zachary's room door slamming, bang. They didn't want to see me. But it's all right, but I'm back in the game. I'm back with my family. I ain't really back on the street yet because unfortunately, the ministry sent me one of these quarantine things. Just last week I was saying the ministry ain't called, but they send this quarantine order now saying I have to quarantine for 20 days. So on the borderline between criminal activity and obeying the law right now. I tell them all they touch and go. I want to walk with my negative COVID test everywhere I go. And if police stop me, because I want to know how they will know you have no quarantine order. It's nothing on your hand, it's not on wristband, it's nothing. Wait. Maybe I should be talking about this on the podcast because if people tell people I have a podcast, if people telling people I have COVID, anytime police pull me over and on the street before my quarantine, then I know it's one of who listening there. So what's that?
Don't say this, please.
All right, we'll edit this part. So the man nervous. I'm a new producer, Zachary Shepherd, my new producer, the head guy in charge. So when I get the test and thing, right, the way the test going, just to get an idea of this home, and I'm mostly talking to people who live in here, right, because if you're in Canada, UK, in the States, all you're accustomed to these home tests, right, we never come see a little bit right here, because I didn't even know they had this. But if you see it on YouTube, you'll see what the tests look like, and this should make some men nervous or happy, you know what I mean, when it's a 1 line or 2 line, or you remember them days? So it's the same thing. You have to do this swab. It's not all the way back in your throat, but you have to do it a decent way into your nostril. You swizzle around 5 times on each side. And then they have a little solution you have to put it in a little tube. You know, it's clumsy, but Dr. Stacy, who was staying away from me for the last 2 weeks because of quarantine and COVID and measure, you know what I mean, doing all the right things, all of a sudden she don't need to distance again because she wants to administer the test. Oh, woman wicked. But thank God she was there, because my clumsy self would have probably throw away all the solution or whatever it is. But when you're done with the swishing around, which is just as uncomfortable as when the doctor do the test, right? Although I feel like Stacey had a little venom in the way she do the 5 swirl, because all the time I call her and ask for food over and over. I feel she had a little aggression in it. But when you do it and you put it in the solution, you have to mix it around, shake it up, make sure that your sample gets in that solution, and then you have to drop it onto this testing thing. This, what is it called? These EPT thing. It's a EPT, basically. And you take your droplets from that solution, you put it in there, and you wait 15 minutes. So all the doctor, she playing doctor. You know, I had to go back in the room for the 15 minutes to quarantine again to wait for the result. But gratefully, the result come back out negative. And I am back. Well, at least I could mingle with the family. I can't come back on the road and trying to obey the law while mingling with the family and things. In terms of the process, I will tell you this. Zachary and Stacey never get it. I'm very, very grateful for that, because like I said, this is not a nice thing. People who talking about it's just a cold and it's just a flu, you could talk that until you have it. And your chest pain, may know what symptoms anybody else might get, but that is not a nice thing, and it's not a nice feeling. And up to now, even though it's saying negative, I still feeling tired every little thing I do. So I just put in my disclaimer now that whenever this podcast done it. It could done midway through a topic. When I'm tired, I go and sleep. And they didn't get it with these simple things where what they was telling us from the beginning. You know, one of the complaints about the information from COVID was that the science changing so often. 1 minute they say you don't need a mask, now you need a mask, the cloth mask is work, now you need an N95. And like I saw Joe Rogan talking about it this week, and having to apologize. I don't even know if it's an apology he make or whatever it is, but he was on Spotify talking about, because I think some musicians had come out and say that that they want all the music off Spotify. Spotify continuing to allow Joe Rogan to push misinformation about COVID. I can't remember the singer name who
Neil Young.
What?
Neil Young.
How you know who's Neil Young?
The news, buddy. The news.
Why are you watching the news? You don't be on YouTube right through watching Preston?
No.
How you know who's Neil Young?
I wake up, you know I wake up anytime around 6 and 6:30, right?
And do what to find out who's Neil Young?
What news?
Why are you watching what foreign news?
Yes, I watch on ABC.
Sing a Neil Young song.
Hey.
Alright, you're a fraud. But yeah, Neil Young. I don't know why this man know who's Neil Young. This is impressive. Yeah, but Neil Young. Yeah, really. Listen, I want to tell you this. For the longest while, the man telling me he will be my news producer, so that he will give me all the news stories. But me, I realize the man like he really up to date to the current, brother. Okay, Neil Young. So the thing with Joe Rogan is this. I'm a Joe Rogan fan, right? I watch Joe Rogan as much as I could once I'm interested in the guests that he have, right? But I don't think it's so much that he anti-vax, so he trying to go against what the CDC recommending and stuff. But he watching everybody sideways, because from the beginning he was saying why they're not pushing more things about natural immunity and building your health and building your own immune system, which, as I say, I was talking about this last week. I felt like if it will take a long time for somebody to get fit and get healthy and build the immunity, but we're into this 2 years now, so I think that part of it I agree with. And I think where he get a lot of flack is when he got COVID himself, and he come and he say, I take metformin and ivermectin and every kind of minute have, and it was like, dude, you encouraging people about natural immunity, but you taking all the drugs that have under doctor orders, of course. And Aaron Rodgers, who was quarterback in Green Bay, who claimed that he was vaccinated and apparently was not. People vexed like hell with him too. Apparently Joe Rogan is sending people like Aaron Rodgers COVID recovery packages. I mean, under the orders of his doctor, sending him through the doctor. I know how it's working, but they turn into Joe Rogan. And it's just to show you the voice, the importance of our voice. Because Joe Rogan, at the end of the day, is a podcaster, a stand-up comedian, and a UFC commentator. But he have one of the most important voices in COVID now, to the point where, as a singer like Neil Young removing his whole catalog, and I believe it's Joni Mitchell, if I'm not mistaken, removing the whole catalog from Spotify with more to come. More people seem to be bothered by this. But what I could say is this. the initial advice that they had given us, it seemed to work from me because all I really do is I just social distance. I wear my mask at all times if I had to be exposed to anybody. I fight up last week to do the podcast with the mask on just to make sure that everybody can get and nobody gets. So the earliest advice we get seemed to be the most
Wash
solid.
your hands, wear your distance, wash your hands, wear your distance, and wash your hands, wear your distance, and wash your
mask.
Wash your hands,
What?
wear your distance, and wash your mask.
Yeah, sometimes you have to wash your mask, you know, it's a breath making you wash your mask. But I keep saying old age, but that earliest advice that we had seemed to be good. So some of the other things I'll tell people, just to get off of this topic real quick, right? One of the things that make me feel the best was getting the sun. Now, I will say that, as the doctor told me, get vitamin D3, B12, zinc, and vitamin C. I was taking vitamin C 1,000 milligram as a tablet and taking the emergency later on in there as a liquid. I was steaming twice a day, one with Stacey Obia concoction with onion, garlic, whatever she put in there, and do the steam. You can't smell nothing anyway, so yeah, I was doing the steam. And I was using eucalyptus oil. At first I can't smell, right? I didn't even smell any eucalyptus. I nearly killed myself. Eucalyptus, I put too much.
I think you also did the vitamin C 1,000 milligrams.
Yeah, I take that as a tablet. Yeah. And then I put you the emergency too. So when I went through that, and I was also, I went through that. I was doing the steaming. What else I do, boy? I tried to eat a wholesome diet as much as I could. But mostly fruits, vegetables, and meat for most of the time. One thing I could tell you is with COVID, you're hungry every single minute. Every time you turn, you're hungry. It's the strangest thing.
How is that different from real life?
All right, bye. Bye. You must be hungry every minute, but with COVID, your appetite open. I know some people said that they didn't want to eat at all too, so I guess everybody's symptoms different. But the thing that made me feel better the most was just getting out in the sun. The hotter the sun, the better. The more I could bear it, I was feeling a little relief overall. What I will say is that the air conditioner was not my friend. When the air conditioner was on too long, that's when the chest pains had started and things. And I will admit that I have not, you're supposed to service the air conditioner like every 3 months. My own service, last time I serviced was in the 90s. So there was a little black gunk coming through there and thing, and we don't even open up that room at all. So maybe that wasn't the best idea. So I want to get our air conditioning service real fast, just in case any one of us gets it. Because, the thing about it is, everybody will get COVID at some point. It's just like the flu or the cold. So the best thing is I feel in my household, prepare for it. And so much people I know who had it already had it again. So I want to make sure I get my air conditioner clean and use it. But the more you could do without the AC, the better. Because once I opened up that room and I was getting fresh air coming in, I was good. And these houses designed when one side of your house is be real hot in the evening. Well, that room is on that side of the house. So when it was real hot, like by 2-3 o'clock, I had no choice but to put on the AC. It was unbearable. And when that AC was on for that couple hours till maybe 5-6 o'clock, I was feeling worse all the time. I had to wrap up. It was bad. And as soon as I take it off and I get back fresh air, I was starting to feel better already. So I would think that if you could avoid the AC, if you get COVID, avoid it. One of the things that I will change home here too is I need to get paper plate, sanitary thing, paper plate, paper cup, knife, fork, whatever I could get in paper, plastic, whatever. Plastic. Mm-hmm. If you could get that, get it. Because you see with Zachary and Stacey taking such good care of your boy, one of the things I was worried about is having to hand them back all the wares I now use. Them wares was COVID-ridden as far as I concerned. So when I drink from a cup, I was trying to rinse it out in the sink in my room and then put it back out for them, make sure I wash my hands properly before I do that. And anytime I had to put things outside, we had a little jail table they put outside for me, like in a jail cell. And anytime I had to put things on that jail table, I make sure I wear my mask before I put it out. Every time I put some out of here in Lysol spray, and I tell all they buy shares in Lysol, no Lysol shares go sell. But if I had to do it again, I would have enough paper plates and stuff. And that's something whenever the ministry or the government of Trinidad and Tobago allows me to leave my house again, I'm going to buy a little COVID kit full of sanitary stuff and some garbage bags. When I go inside there, I have my stuff, I eat, and I throw away everything when I'm done so that I don't have to pass back anything to them. As much as possible, I would try to avoid that. Some of the simpler things is like staying off social media, because you see the depression when you're done have COVID. You're seeing the amount of COVID deaths going on online. The news is never good news, it seems. And couple of the fact that you're isolated. You kind of have nobody to talk to. You're talking to your wife and them on the phone and on FaceTime alone. Every time I find like every time I hear Stacey and Zachary laughing, like I feeling some type of way. I inside them that bed, I hear, I want to know what me laughing at all. I didn't like that. So it's starting to get to you a little bit. So be careful. Protect your mentals. Gratefully, it had some good series and some good things to watch, but even that was getting heavy because I watch out Ozark. I was talking about Ozark before we leave here, right? But you realize Ozark a little bit dark. So that wasn't helping. I would also stay off Amazon. Let me tell you. I don't know if all you have the same kind of habits I have when you're bored inside a room whole day. Better you delete Amazon from your phone because Aeropost not stopping showing up by my door now. I buy all kind of thing. I inside there, I just order. I ain't even putting in cards. It's like buy now, buy now, buy now. I will pay for that at some point in time.
You buy
February.
something for me?
Absolutely not. See how life is rough here, boy. You see when you get a producer to do our work, all of a sudden they're looking for things. But outside of buying on Amazon a lot, what I will advise any of the I'm talking to certain genders now, right? Because some genders might be better at others than this, right? I ain't talking to, if you know this don't apply to you, it don't apply to you. Whoever gender you identify as, if this fall in your yard, is for you. Maybe you should quarantine with your wallet, with your own bank card and your own credit card. Because if you go in quarantine and you forget your card and thing outside in your wallet, money is going to spend at a pace that you are never going to be able to comprehend. I only get a notification on my phone. Price Smart, how much? 1,000. Massy, all I get is a set of fruit to eat. Me ain't getting nothing to eat when the day come. All I get is fruits. When I'm morning, I get ginger and turmeric. Me ain't getting nothing fancy to eat. But I only seeing Price Smart, this Hello Food, Drop Food, Kaizen. I would advise anybody better when you go to quarantine, as soon as you get the news or you get symptoms, go and get your wallet and thing one time. Get them things in your hand. Don't worry about nothing else. Clothes and things secondary. Protect your mental by having your wallet for yourself. But that's about it. Most important, I am COVID free. But I want to tell all you about this thing with long COVID, right? Before we move on. I never hear about this long COVID thing before I come and get COVID. And I hope it's not that I have. But what I could tell all is that I walking around with this negative test right through. But you see the tiredness you're feeling it. I can't describe it. How tired you're feeling after you do every little thing. So yesterday I get this is Sunday now, right? I get this negative COVID test. So I say, you know what? All the little weight that I try to use to lose when the year start. Because I start the year eating healthy. I wasn't eating no sugar, no bread, no nothing. I was doing intermittent fasting. I was eating at between the hours of 8 p.m. and 12 p.m., 12 midday, I'm not eating nothing. And I shall knock off some pounds and like again back in the game, riding for hour morning. So this morning I decide, well, all right, I have a negative test. Time to get back on the cycle one time because I don't eat out all that COVID weight that I lost, I put it back on. So I go on and exercise. I do some simple things. I jump rope, a little 300 at a time. I must reach about 1,500 or whatever. Let me tell you something. It's whole day I had to sleep when I do that little piece of exercise. Thing you would do and be good and be feeling stronger and healthier. You're doing that and you're falling off. What was that?
Didn't you, earlier today, he showed me a video of this very hard exercise. You had to do it 30 times. But it's like, he said he was going to do it. He might do it on the next podcast. I don't know.
Well, the thing about it, right? I had to talk about my fitness level because I'm going back to Joe Rogan, right? And one of the things that I like about what Joe Rogan's saying is that if you eat wholesome food and you exercise and you be fit, whatever the next pandemic is going to affect you less and less, right? And if you get sick, you're supposed to have a better chance. Well, first, you should be able to ward off lifestyle type diseases and illnesses. And if you're in a situation like a pandemic, you stand a better chance, or you and your family stand a better chance. And one of the things about our watching here, right, is the listeners of this podcast is low-key a little bit of a fit squad. You know? When you watch man like Al, big man like Alim, and these fellas who running miles effortlessly. And like, you know, when you talk to Al about running, it's the most sickening thing to talk about running, you know, because the first thing is I tell them, I say, Al, I'm trying to run more, I'm trying to get up more running and get my little fitness in that gear. I'll say, focus on your breathing. Fitness people say the worst things to fat people, like focus on your breathing. I like focusing on kiss cake. I focusing on finishing. I focusing on getting more. I focusing on I want to go home. I used to hate to park my car around the savannah. And then I run around the savannah like a fool. And when I watch back from the zoo and I see which part my car is by QRC, I say, but you're a real fool to park by QRC and run away from your car. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my car and I running away from it for no good reason. And then man like Al want to come and tell you, watch your breathing. Focus on your breathing. You could run any amount of miles. It's the most annoying thing. And men like Nicki Minaj, man, like our next annoying man who you had to see every time you watch this man Instagram, a guy by the name of Andre Mills, I call your government name. He on top some kind of mountain somewhere looking to run up a next mountain. The mountain is he warm up so to run up a next mountain. But I realize I'm gonna use the fit squad in this podcast. People like Swazets and Renee Popplewell who exercising every day and every day is a new challenge. Are using all your fitness and discipline and stick-to-itiveness and so on to try and get myself in a gear. So this morning I tell Zachary I find a challenge. The name of it is the Sally Up, Sally Down challenge. I don't know if I'll ever hear about this before. How you find it went, Zachary?
That is the most burden challenge. It's only 30 and I'm glad it's only 30.
Well, you didn't do 30, brother. 30 is the max. So the way the Sally Up, Sally Down challenge, a matter of fact, what I will do, I promise all of this. I don't do it for the day already and I'm not doing it again. I tell them It's a song that you're doing called Sally Up, Sally Down. I can't remember Sally Goes Up, Sally Goes Down, or whatever the song name is, a kind of rock and roll song. The idea is that when the song say up, you're in your push-up position and you go up when they say up and you go down when they say down. In total, the song is 30 push-ups. The idea is to see how many you could do and log it. So what I will do is I will include it in... Where are we doing it, Zachary? Next week podcast?
Yeah, probably.
All right, I'll try and remember not to do it first thing in the morning and do it while I record it. I'll record myself doing it so people can see how to do it. I'm using all the fit people to help me. This is the Corey Shepherd Fit Squad. Like you see, I don't say quit squad already. Yeah. So the idea is once I start doing them, I will put in the YouTube comments, just put like day one and how much ever you make. And then when you do it every other day or every day or however often you're doing it, you can come back in the same comments, edit it and put day two, you make more. And hopefully we get it more. Now, the fit people who are called here probably going to do all 30 one time. So all you do all your day one and put 30 and show people that it's possible for me. Please, that we taking all for all your word. If all you want to send video and thing with it, a matter of fact, if you send me a video doing it, I will include it in one of the podcasts subsequent to that. Just to prove to people that it's possible, right? And you could do it with squats too. I know some of the ladies might want to do a whole set of push-ups, you know what I mean? I must improve my bust. You remember that? I know they might not want to do that, but you could do it with squats too. So when the song playing, when it say up, you come out of squat position. And when it say down, you go down in squat position and you hold. Same thing with the push-up. When you say down, you're going down in push-up position. So you're not lying down on the ground. You're just going down with chest close to ground. Like you're at 45 degrees. And see how much we could do. That is one of my aims of fitness. The reason I find that Sally Up, Sally Down, I was watching one of the YouTube episodes, right? And so said, wait, now we didn't talk about nothing yet. I'll get to some topics just now, right? But I was watching that and I ain't like how my arms looking. I ain't like how my arms looking on this podcast. I ain't lying to tell you. I didn't like it. So I decided to get back in my push-up game and get back in the gym. I say as soon as I come off for COVID, I'm going to get my arms back right. I can't handle this kind of look where my thing looking like I'm in my 50s already. I ain't like it. You know, when you wave and you thing wave back below, I don't like it. So I put back on all the COVID weight and I'm going to use all the fit folks to keep me in check and keep me accountable to get back in some kind of a gear. First and foremost for health reasons, right? I want to be healthier and stronger to fight out whatever they throw at my body when this Omicron and whoever variant, they say the Omicron and Delta mix now and then make up their own variants and all these things. I want to see if I could ward off all that. My regime, as I say, before the COVID hit, was the intermittent fasting. What I will tell you is for weight loss purposes, if you could try intermittent fasting, that working. The idea is, for me, it was a 16-hour fast and you're eating in an 8-hour window, right? So only eating between midday and 8 p.m. And then my next meal is at midday the following day, fasting for the whole time. The hardest thing for me is I like to eat in the night. I like to eat as a snack and other things late in the night. I try to avoid that. And what I will say, I mean, as a greedy man, I like to eat. So if I could do this, you could do this, right? I'm just talking to people if this is interesting for anybody or if it's something that you want to try. It would be hard for the first 7 days or so. When you wake up in the morning, the only thing you could drink is like water or tea with no sugar or no creamer, coffee with no sugar or no cream or anything like that. And your first meal is at midday. You're going to feel for the first 7 days like you're going to die. You're going to feel lightheaded, like you can't work. But after that first 7 days, you really don't miss it. You find that you end up feeling for breakfast somewhere around 12 o'clock. And you get your meals. And of course, during the 12 and the 8, you can't just KFC out the whole scene, right? So between the 12 and the 8, I still was eating pretty healthy. And I could see the scale responding to it. Like I have a little smart scale. When I go on the scale, it's tell me my BMI, my body fat, my total weight. Is show a chart on my phone as to how I'm progressing, if I head in the right direction or not. But I heading in the wrong direction right now. So I depending on the people in this. And I ain't drink no rum. The only rum I drink over Christmas, I cut back on the rum too. Apparently rum is only sugar. Who knew? So I'm going back on that one time so that I could get back to where I was pre-COVID and pick back up, because I was supposed to do 30 days of this and I can't do my 30 days. So depending on all it's to do. All right, let me get back in some in some of the topics, because it's not just we can't just talk about the health, like your physical health and things. Let me talk some financial health, right? And I will get Nick Dean back here. I tell him only one time. Nick Dean will be back here. He done agree to come on and things. So we will talk some things about your own budgeting and personal finances and so on. But I was surprised at how much feedback I get from the last episode of people who wanted to hear this thing about the economy. When I talk about these things, I feel like it's the most boring thing. I sometimes talk about these things and delete the whole topic. But I kind of say in passing last week, what did I say? The 1% is an important part. Growing the 1% is an important part of what Trinidad we're going to need to focus on and so on. I have nothing against the 1%, and I support the idea of the 1%. I want to put it out there in the ethos one time. My goal is to be one of the top 1% of earners in the country too. I want to be on top of things. I want to be financially clear of any issues. When I don't want money to be a problem when I say I don't want money to be a problem, what I mean is not just so that I could buy wherever I want and I don't have to worry about money again. What I mean is my great-grandchildren who I might never meet, I want them to never have to worry about money in life. So I don't see this issue we have where the people who are the wealthiest in the country, they by default is drug dealers, they corrupt, they this, they that, they wicked, and they done. I don't agree. Do you see me and them things don't they don't add up for me at all. So I promised some people that I will talk about the economy and a quick econ lesson, right? Simple stuff, and I'm going to avoid getting technical in any way and try to break this down into terms that's still entertaining in some way. I'm surprised people want to hear about this, you know what I mean? But in this week's Express, this is by Andrea Perez Sobers. I saw something saying, so funny that we talked about this last week and people want to hear about it. The headline of the article is, sell the banks, the rum company to private investors. Anthony Sabga III is on state assets. He said the government should not be in the business of banks, rum companies, or port management and should try to sell its assets to the private investors. This is the view of Anthony Sabga III, the group CEO of Answer McCall. Answer McCall is one of the biggest companies in the country, right? I think the two biggest would be, outside of oil and gas, the two biggest is probably Answer McCall and Neil and Massey. There's not Neil and Massey, again. It's Massey, right? Presenting the outside oil and gas and the finance sector, there's straight banks, right? Those might be the two biggest. Presenting the feature address at AmCham TNT's Economic Forum Outlook for 2022, Sabga said government's role is to facilitate business, not to be in business, except in the case of extraordinary need to protect national interests or to avoid economic collapse of their countries. Well, I agree with this 100%. And let me explain why, right? Before we jump into the 1% thing. You see, the idea of the government facilitating business, I think it is critical. So let me use the example of oil and gas, right? The government, I feel, should be setting plans for how the country going to develop and then putting policy in place to facilitate those plans. So let me say you decide that oil and gas is one of the ways that the economy had to grow, right? Then we will need some infrastructural changes, because for oil and gas, you need let me say at the most basic level, you need pipelines, you need a road that oil tanker could drive on, you need oil tankers to be able to come into the country. What is called the trucks that carry oil? Oil tankers? The ones that carry the oil. For big trucks, you need facility. The idea of building the ports or in Chatham, I think it was, or building places like Point Lisas and places like Point-a-Pay and so on, they make sense because that helps facilitate business so that now private companies could get involved in building what is an oil sector. And once that oil sector building, the government again should be looking to say, okay, we can't leave all our eggs in one basket in oil and gas. We had to look at what is the other industries that could make the country some money. Because the oil and gas is by far Trinidad's biggest sector or industry, right? Up to today, I want to say somewhere around 30-something, 40% of our income is come from oil and gas, which you think about it. Just think of all your income coming from one place. Like a lot of us live like that. All your whole income is your salary. It means that if you were to lose that salary, you're at some risk. If you have 4 or 5 different areas of income, if you lose the smallest one, you ain't going to be in so much of trouble. You get where I'm coming from? So if we were to lose oil and gas as a sector as a whole, the standard of life in this country will change drastically. So I agree with Sabga here a lot. You know what I mean? The man saying, facilitate business, not be in business. He goes on to say they should insist that they seek to sell their holdings as soon as possible to capable private investors for competitive market value at a profit or at a minimal loss to the public purse. Proficient ownership should result in value creation and taxable rewards. I agree with that too. So the thing about it is this, right? The government has a large stake of ownership in places like, NGC, in TSTT, in Angostura. I don't know if you all saw the article this week where it says Trincity Mall is going up for sale. The reason Trincity Mall is on sale is because governments a decade ago, or even more than that, I talking about 2008, so that's a decade and a half ago, right? Because CL Financial was in trouble at the time, bail out CL Financial and it strangely seized control of all the assets of the company. I don't agree with this at all. And I argued about this since back then. A man private company, you bail out, so you take control. I'm not saying that something had to be done when you bail out the company, right? Because that's taxpayers' dollars. It was too big to fail like so many other companies. But I don't see any reason why the government should still be in control of any assets of the company. I also believe, my belief in private sector is this. Who you would bet on to make more money over 10 years or to innovate or to find better ideas or go into better sectors? Who you would bet on? Dupre and the squad or Imbert and the squad? Who your money would be on? If it left in government hands, I don't see how they will innovate beyond what they're doing now. Because once it reaches in government, let's say government control it and they control the employment, it's going to get very much like the public sector where you have a bunch of employees who may not be contributing to the bottom line in any way. If anything, taken away from the bottom line, making the company less profitable. A heavily unionized environment where the company is not able to adjust to market forces, like currently 1975 Limited, because they simply can't send home large numbers of people or anything like that. And then don't forget political will. Because if you are the largest employer in the country, which the government of Trinidad and Tobago is still the largest single employer in the country, if there are adjustments to be made to the labor force, let me say automation taking over and just the jobs that we used to need, we no longer need. Use licensing as an example, where you have a bunch of people who employed who want lunch by X time, this one only taking cash, all those other things had to change. If everything automated and you could go by a vending machine and get your license updated. You sit down and play a video game type thing to show you could drive. You test your eyes right on a machine there and it prints out your license and hand you in your hand and say, bam. There's plenty different jobs lost. But the question is there a government who would be willing to take that hard decision when so much jobs will be lost when an election coming up? I personally say that they're not going to do that. They're never going to do it. They will always consider the votes and have make work programs and keep people employed for is a quid pro quo to get back votes. So the idea of government being in business, and I was talking to a fella I know, my brother, my name is Show in Lamette. These fellas plenty brighter than me, they know plenty more than me. And his comparison is, well, Norway running profit. And I don't understand the comparisons with people like Norway, right? Because Norway is about 3 times the size of Trinidad, if you want to call it that, in terms of population. We're about 1.3, them about, let me say, 5 million, right? Our whole GDP must be 20-something billion dollars or something like that, right? I believe. 20, and it come down to 20-something billion. I think the highest was somewhere close to 30. Norway and these fellas talking about $500 billion in GDP. You know what I mean? So I don't know what the comparison is. But the thing is that it is saying that the state owns a lot of resources. That could be true. But when you watch Norway's system of governance, right? It is by default a coalition. It have no government win and the minority in opposition, and then the government could do what they want for the next 5 years and then put a certain thing in place, spend public funds to pave road, fool people into voting back for them again and put them back in power. Those things can happen in countries like Norway. 10 men and them running a coalition government. All who want to run for government opposition, this, you have to share power, you have to share ideas, you have to vote. And they have a mono-ethnic, mono-religious, mono-thinking society where we don't have that. And also, they have the benefit of large numbers. But anyway, when you look at the argument that people like Sabga making and they're saying private investor, the pushback that they usually get, and I could understand why, is that when they say private investor, if you had to guess some of the names of who would take over Angostura if the government make it available for sale, what names you would guess? You will get Sabga and Abu, that the same names will come back out. So if your argument about the 1% or against the 1% is that the 1% is still controlled by one family or one race of people, that's a different discussion. We could have that discussion separately. But the idea of the 1% is this. And this is the econ lesson here. The economy is a simple thing. It is what do you call a circular flow of money? A circular flow of income is what we used to call it in econ, right? And in the most basic way, there are two players in our economy. It have households and it have firms. The household consuming and the firm producing. This is the most basics, right? So the idea is this. To be able to make something or to be able to make money, in economics, there are four things that contribute to the making of money. It's called land, labor, capital, and enterprise, right? So it's either the land produces something. So for instance, fruits, oil and gas, wherever you might have. It could be landscape like beaches, all that could be land. All them things could make money, right? What again have? Land, labor. Labor is what we put out, right? So I come here and talk, I make some money. Hopefully at one day that will happen. But your labor allows you to earn, right? So the more specialized your labor, the more unique your labor, the more needed your labor is and hard to replace is, the more money you could make. That's simple demand and supply. We do draw some diagram and thing. If you could do something that nobody else could do, but nobody don't want it, you're not going to make much money for your labor. But if you could do something that everybody wants and need, and not much other people could do that, you're going to be one of the highest paid people that have. If you're doing something that anybody else could do, you're probably not going to be able to earn the highest salaries, right? Simple demand and supply. So labor could make money, land could make money, capital could make money. In other words, you could put money and allow it to make money. If you invest in something like Angostura, you could make dividends. You buy Angostura shares for $15. Next year, these shares $20. You make more money, right? Now, the thing about it is this. I used to tell econ classes all the time, the only thing you could do money is to spend it, right? Jokingly, of course. Because to the individual, when you get your salary, you don't see spending as everything you do. You think that you do some spending, some saving, some investing, and so on. But put it like this. When you spend money, you're going to buy internet, you're going to buy light, you're going to buy clothes to wear, car to drive, house to drive, you know what I mean? You're going to entertain yourself in some kind of way. All those things would be your spending. When you're saving, you're going to buy a savings product from an insurance company. All the money you have, you're going to spend. You put aside some for a rainy day, you're going to put it in a bank account. You take some to invest, you're going to put that on the stock exchange. Or you put some money, like these people, I like these people bring this COVID test, because them put their money into their own venture, I feel. And they buy some COVID test and they resell that and they make money. If you have a business, you take your money, you put it into your business and you turn your money into more money, right? The profit is what we're looking for. So when you look at it, the money in our economy don't really go anywhere. In this circular flow of income, the one thing that we look at as where money leaves is when you import things. Because when I sit down whole week last week and buy things on Amazon, unfortunately, that money not staying in the economy. 7% of it staying, right? Because come say we have to pay a tax on that. But most of the money going to go out of the country. and we pay a little tax on what you had to get, and you get your goods and services, right? But when we export something to these people like oil and gas, or we export a Marshall or a Benjai or a Ravi B, they bring back that money. So we go take all the things we export and we get money for, and we go minus all the things we import and we send money for, and you get a net situation. So now I have all the things I buy, which I will call consumption, all the money I save, which I will call savings, all the money I invest, which I call investment. And all that added up together is what you call a circular flow income. So the only way for the country or the economy to do better, or this circular flow to do better, is to inject more money into the system. If there's a way to get more money into the system, you'll be good. So the question I might ask my time in Fatima is, but why we don't just print more money? It kind of makes sense, right? For a quick minute. Because if you just print more money and you say, boy, listen, you're working for 5,000, the government print more money, you're working for 10, now we go end up like Venezuela or Mugabe or one of them, because they used to teach me in economics a long time. They say more money is chasing the same amount of goods. So you're in a situation where all of we have $1 in this room, right? And they have something selling for $1. That's all we need. Let me say you need water to drink. We starving. We dying. We need some water. And water selling for $1 and it had 10 water. All of we go buy the water for $1 each and everybody will be satisfied and we will live. But let me say they get all of we $2 now. They print money and it's still at the same 10 water. How much you feel each person will pay for a bottle of water now? Everybody go pay $2. So the water that we was buying in the first place, nothing improve about it. We didn't get any more of it. All we're doing is paying more for it now. That's what they're talking about when they say inflation. So if they just give us more money without producing anything else, because if you give me more money and we get 10 more bottles of water, so now I have $20 and 20 bottles of water. I now might take my $2 and buy 2 water. So now the money that I make more, the extra $1 you pay me, now I get 2 bottles of water. I'm better off. And economists call it welfare, you know. So they say my welfare improve. We just call it standard of living. You're good now. You make more money and you get more things. You get more benefit from it. You could consume more. You could save more. You could invest more. So your quality of life, in theory, improving, right? So the thing about it is this, and this is my argument about the 1%. If you have an economy that is worth $21 billion a year, and you have, in most simple terms, a group of people in this country is the top earners in the country, and they earn 1% of that amount, right? If you were to grow your whole economy to 100 billion, the 1% now just making more. That 1% is now, it's just 1% of a larger number. Now, how does that affect me and you? Why would I care? Why I care so much about it? Because number one, if I had to put my bets on what will grow Trinidad economy from 21 billion to 100 billion, I wouldn't bet it on land, because the things that we have in land is finite. The oil and gas running out. We don't control the price of that. The sand, sea and sun, too much other people have that. The things that we have as land, and we can't produce land. When you see a farm in Brazil bigger than the whole of Trinidad, what agriculture are we going to produce that make us globally competitive? I'm not saying don't make agriculture, right? That purpose is like Sabga say, the government should invest in things or own things when it comes to our own national security. So food security important, but beyond food security, what the government of Trinidad and Tobago going in the food business for? Look what we do with the sugar industry. So what I'm saying is this. Land not going to get us from 20 billion to 100 billion. Labor on its own probably not going to get us there either. Look at the quality of labor that we have. Watch yourself. Watch your time is reach to work. Watch your time is leave. Watch how much more money you want to work extra hours and so on. So labor not probably not going to get us where we need to go. Labor, you work real hard and we change our attitude towards work, it could get us from 20 to 23. Capital is already limited in this country. And when you have a certain amount of debt to the IMF and anywhere you have debt to, they structure what you could do with your money in your economy. You don't have all the say over how you invest your capital. So the government might have a stabilization fund and a heritage fund, but we cannot make all the decisions as to how we invest that until we pay off all the people. Now, we're one of the few countries who borrow from them and pay them off before, so I have confidence that we'll probably pay them off again. But you see, enterprise Enterprise is when you're talking about entrepreneurship, people with ideas, people who take chances, people who take risks and create things where there weren't things before. So I'll give you a simple example, right? I like Apple products. And I didn't know I needed an iPad before Apple make an iPad. Apple didn't invent tablets, it had that since 1995. I think Dell was one of the first people who make a tablet, but I didn't know that I needed that. At the time Apple bring out iPad, I had a laptop and a phone already. When Apple bring out the iPad now, imagine if Apple is now $1 trillion company. Imagine if they were in Trinidad and that was a Trinidadian making those products and so on. You could see clearly where that is going to benefit everybody in the country, because when they're making when their valuation is $1 trillion, let's assume that their profit margin, or people like Amazon making billions of dollars in profits when the year come, at 25% corporation tax, that is money now that could go back into building hospital, building road. And the way it affects us, right, is not just that we get better hospital services or that we get better road services. No. Your $10,000 a month now that you're spending a little bit to go Sinclair, a little bit in the pharmacy, a little bit, those things could be better enhanced for how they deliver them in the public sector now. So you don't have to spend as much of your income on anything from the pharmacy, on education, where you're paying for extra lessons for your child and you're paying for this and that and the third. Imagine you're sending your child to a public school like San Fernando Boys and you're getting the best piano lessons, you're getting the best swimming class, you're getting taekwondo, all of that provided for you. I don't always advocate for that too much, right? But in theory, you could get all that, and then more of your money now could go towards your own consumption, investment, and saving. Or in simpler terms, you could now buy more bottles of water and be better off. You understand where I'm coming from? If those people, if those entrepreneurs or those innovators were part of Trinidad society, we would all have a different standard of living. Now, the argument, my boy, the matchmaking is that he's saying when you look at a profit-making company as a private sector company, one of the things that private sector people do well is they have good tax attorneys and good tax accountants who try to not... the slight difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance, right? You have to declare how much profit you make every year and whatever tax you're supposed to pay on that. 25% in this country, you have to pay a tax, right? If you refuse to pay that 25%, or if you don't pay, that would be tax evasion. Or if you lie about your profits and you pay a lesser amount because you cook your books, that would be evasion, which would be illegal. You will make a jail for that, right? Tax avoidance, on the other hand, is when you realize, boy, at the end of this year, I'm going to make $5 million in profit. So here was the plan. We have 5 directors. Let me buy 5 Range Rover cash for $1 million each for a Range Rover. All of us going and live better because we increase our own welfare because I now driving sweet. You know what I mean? And then I pay the government $0 because I didn't make any profit. The Range Rover is an expense to the business, right? That is not illegal. And people have a quarrel with that. And that's why a lot of people say the government needs to stay in profit-making businesses. I don't agree with it at all. Because the thing about it is this. Even if you have businesses who do that, and the biggest businesses do it well, they still have to pay tax on that Range Rover that they drive. You have motor vehicle tax. So that if they buy better and more expensive vehicles, it might sound moronic, but the tax that they're going to pay on those vehicles get back into the system that could be used for government spending again. Their own salaries, when they pay income tax, that is more tax. So the more money they make is the higher the taxable amount for the government to be able to take. As that business grows to be making 5 million, let me say next year they make 20 million and they buy 20 Range Rover. For that business to grow from 5 to 20, businesses don't operate on their own. Businesses is a part of this circular flow of income too. So for them to grow, what did they do? Did they produce more? Did they take on more employees? Did they build more factories? All those things put money back into the economy. Because if you had to build something as a contractor, you had to pay. There's a contractor now who his profit margin now move from 100,000 to 150,000. Let me say if it's on a smaller scale, right? So the point I always make about the 1% and about business in general is that business makes a greater impact. This is in my opinion, right? Business makes a greater impact on any economy in terms of the welfare because of that enterprise thing, entrepreneurship. If people take chances and make breakthroughs, let me say breakthrough innovation, we invent something, we create something. It is a better and more sustainable way of growing our economy than not. Look at Guyana, for example, right? If we is 21 billion, Guyana GDP must now reach 5. Granted, they have about half our population size, right? We will reach a point where Guyana GDP blow past Trinidad. They probably the what do you call it? The projection for them is past $30 and $40 billion for 800,000 people. So they I want you to just observe how much the quality of life on Guyana on the ground change. I don't say quality of life yet. Standard of living in Guyana change in terms of the goods and services that people could buy and access. Now, the thing about it is this. GDP and those measures and economic measures on a whole is not usually the best. They prove not to be the best way of looking at quality of life, right? Separate from standard of living. Because they say money is not everything. But in third world countries, we have to be careful how we say things like that. Because there was a study, I wish I could tell you what the study was, right? At some point I go come back to this and I'll tell you what the study was. But what the person was saying about money. You know they say money can't buy happiness? The guy was saying basically that is not necessarily a true statement. He was saying that below a certain level of income, I'm talking individual income now, where you still have to worry about where money coming from or how you're paying these bills, or you're heavily in debt that you're not sure if you could pay off, and the stress of debt. He said below a certain amount, the money creates a burden for you that is very, very stressful and could make you unhappy. He said once you reach that amount, there's not a lot more money that could make you any happier. And listen, he had quoted a figure, and I hesitant to quote a figure, but the first time I saw the figure, I want to say it was $80,000 a year, US dollars a year. And but that was some years ago. Well, and the last time I saw the figure, I want to say it was about 120,000 or 100,000 US a year. But I really can't remember, and I don't want to quote figures. If I find it back, I will come back to that and I will get the right figures for you. But the point he's making is what I want to get across. He's saying that below a certain amount of money, you could be very unhappy because money is a problem for you. And when money is a problem, plenty of other things become problems. But once you get past that amount of money, so you know how your bills paying, you know how you're saving, you know how you're investing, you're sending your children to school, you're enjoying a decent quality of life. Beyond that, no more amount of money more, no matter if you move from that to hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, it don't make you any happier. It's not. Look at Kanye West as an example. This guy's having a rough time. So when you look at a country like the States that have so many billionaires, you could see why their economy tends to be bigger. If you take the government out of the equation, and you look at just the money that's generated by the businesses or the biggest businesses in the country, you could see why that economy is large and continues to grow. And when you look at a country like Trinidad, where I saw a thing the other day talking about, I want to say is one of them like business magazines. They was talking about Carib and their campaign with DJ Khaled. And people was vexed because they referred to they were talking about the campaign, and the headline was how microbreweries using the pandemic and social media to boost. So one of the biggest companies in our country, and the biggest brewery and the biggest brand we have, the man referred to as microbrewery. Trinis went wild in the comments, just like when the girl the other day say it's a poor little girl sleeping on pavements and them kind of thing. Everybody get vexed. But when you look at Carib in terms of the size of Carib is a real small company compared to people like Budweiser and these companies. Or look at SM Jaleel, one of our biggest companies. SM Jaleel, or one of our biggest brands. Things like Chubby and Buster and things. Big brand. You see them all over the world. Them things real small compared to Coke and Pepsi. Coke and Pepsi might not even know who them people is outside of Trinidad. Them is studying them or trying to compete with them. Or you look at Sasha Cosmetics, again, one of our biggest brands. When you look at people like CoverGirl and Maybelline or whoever is make them thing, them don't even know. You get where I'm coming from. So my point is this. Think of $1 billion, right? And why we need more billionaires in our society. As bad as you might bad talk Bill Gates and them people changing the quality of lives, not just of their families, but everybody around them, their whole country, their whole communities. Because outside of tax and salaries and investments and them things, I ain't even talk about the amounts of philanthropic work that these people do. They're bad talking Bill Gates and things like how much money they put into Africa, people like Oprah Winfrey. So if we have more billion, and when I say a billionaire, I'm talking TT billionaire, I'm talking about US billionaires, all of our quality of lives will change. And just understand what $1 billion is, right? if you had to make $1 billion over your lifetime through saving and thing, right? If you save $1 million a year, right? So when you making so much money that you could save $1 million every year, it is going to take you 1,000 years before you have $1 billion in the bank. I just want you to appreciate what $1 billion is, right? Because we sometimes throw these things about Kanye West is a billionaire and Dr. Dre is a billionaire. You have to make $1 million 1,000 years straight and don't spend none to become a billionaire. So you're not going to get there by saving small amounts of money or investing on the stock exchange or you're putting money in your unit trust and your thing or your DSS. That's not going to get you there. What is going to get you there is investment, high levels of risk, and high levels of reward that go along with it. Calculated, of course, right? Because for every Bill Gates they have or Bezos or Kanye West, you have hundreds of thousands of millions of people who by the wayside who never got to that point. So I hope that I find like this was boring as hell. To tell the truth, this had to be one of the most boring podcasts I ever feel I do. And I hope I do this justice because these things are a little easier to talk about. When you see I learn to edit real good and I know how to put in a little diagram and show things quick, we go do that. So we go revisit this at some point in life, right? But for the people who wanted to hear from an economic standpoint, why is important that we don't just, and let me talk to you as an individual now. Don't just fall into this thing where you watch the most successful people from a financial standpoint and say they corrupt and they wicked and the Illuminati and they sell their soul. Like I hear some people on a Instagram live the other day. I was so surprised. And an artist too, who I find she's a good artist. I like her songs and things. But them on her live, I played this song from Marshall, I think a couple weeks ago with Just Dance. That is one of the nicest songs I ever hear. The Just Dance song just make you feel good. I had a neighbor here, Marissa, who's listening to the podcast. Salute to Marissa. I see Marissa posting it and thinking, this song is such a feel-good song. And I seen people who on her Instagram live talking about, boy, that song, that's the worst song, and it's Marshall. Because it's Marshall, all of them go around behind it and things like, listen, don't fall into that. Don't fall into this thing where because people are enormously successful, we have this way we like to dismiss everything they do and they're only good because listen, it don't matter if you do it legally or illegally. To reach the levels where you have $1,000 million, or even forget $1,000 million, you did very, very well financially. You earn millions of dollars a year. You don't do that by guess or no Illuminati and all them said that garbage talking. You gotta take, and it's not by hard work either. It's not like you're going and work hard and work and save. So we don't debunk that, right? You ain't gonna be able to save your way to that necessarily. But you have to put your skill or your enterprise or your entrepreneurship or your venture, or put your thing to work and get your business going. I see it as one of the best ways. And let me talk about the illegal thing too, because they like to talk about this one corrupt and this one. You know how hard it is to get to a corrupt millionaire. You know, people, just like how it's a plenty Kanye West on the wayside, it's a plenty corrupt businessmen on the wayside who never reach that point too. Anybody who achieve high levels of financial success or any success, then people work hard to get what they get. They feel it easy because it's a pastors, but it's only a one pastor coffee. It's a plenty pastor, but it's only a one creflo dollar. It's a one woman other partner name who they find money in the wall like if he's Escobar the other day in Houston. A matter of fact, Stacey and them when Stacey and them when they were what the man named Austin. The people who achieve enormous levels of success, and I using money as the example because people had asked about the economic side, right? But don't take it to be superficial. Replace money with fitness, spirituality, family life. Replace it with any one of the things that you would want to frame up as success. Because moving on for this now, right? But they have another thing that we use called like the Human Development Index that take into consideration more than just the economics in our country. And that is why the people in Norway, Sweden, Finland, Greenland have some of the best qualities of life. They pay plenty tax, but the tax dollars work for them. The government reinvests in making sure that their economic welfare is better and better over time. But when you look at them, they have more than just the large amounts of money. They also measure the quality of life by including things like what is the level of perceived corruption, what is the quality of life in terms of green spaces in the country, how much people trust one another, how much people, in other words, how we live with one another then. And to be honest with you, outside of the crime and all them kind of things, Trinidad is a country people live good with one another. So if we could sort out some of them economic things, I feel a lot of the other things could disappear. But let me get back on track, because I really come here to talk about Carnival and all these things. And salute to, I find somebody on Instagram the other day named Hotfoot Sarah. Salute to Hotfoot Sarah. That's my new favorite Instagram page, because she's just give these little nuggets of information that I as a man feel I know plenty thing about Trinidad and plenty thing about the culture and thing. But this girl, and let me just say girl, like a woman, but she's a young girl. I watch her, she's a little 20. Well, let me just say little. Let me start over. This lady, this young lady, that she seems to be a teacher. I don't know why. Maybe I'll get on the podcast one day. But she just dropped these little tidbits and these nice little digestible videos to talk about how Pat Castani had write the anthem for some federation competition, but he didn't win. So he used it. Because I know the story about how our anthem come about. It's a Guyanese writer who writes our anthem. And it was a competition they had for the Trinidad and Tobago anthem. And he won the competition. I never know, because I never really question why a Guyanese would have won the Trinidad anthem writing competition. We need to find out from Hotfoot Sarah that he had entered the Federation anthem competition and he had the same song basically with some different lyrics and he lost. And then he come and hear about Trinidad having a competition and he say he done with competition because he lost too much time already, and his wife tell him nah, enter it, and that's how we end up with we forged from Liberty. So look to Hotfoot Sarah, and she partnered with a fellow named K. Sambury. And as much as I talking about economy and the economics and thing, they did a little video or a series of videos on the economy of Carnival and how it affects all of us. I hope I'm doing it justice, but just go to her Instagram page. Just look for Hotfoot Sarah and you will see all the collaboration she did and what they talk about the economy. And what she say about the economy of Carnival is so true. Like we see it now where we have only see the fake schedule that came out from NCC. No, it didn't come out from NCC. A fake schedule came out saying Carnival 2022 scheduler events. Now, they say when you buy large amounts of life insurance, right? People have a tendency to live loose after they buy large amounts of life insurance. And I want to tell you that I feel like I was one of these people because I double vaxxed. Everything telling me so far that as soon as you're done with your COVID recovery, you should get your booster if you're due for a booster. I go in by my doctor this week to find out if that is true and if I could get my booster one time. I run in and get a booster. Let me tell you something. If I had 3 vaccines in me and I done get COVID and get them antibodies and I shake off that already, I is fetting. I was going fet. So when I see this thing come out saying Friday the 4th of February, Calypso tent open, Queen's Hall, St. Anne's Road, Naparima Bowl, I see tent. Then I see traditional individual prelims. I didn't even know what that was, but I was going there. Extempo in that. Carnival City, me in a visit casino or what? No, that is Carnival City in the Savannah. I was in that. Pan, single small band, 19th of February we there. 19th of February, Naparima Bola, packing up from Pan and heading straight. I was just going all these events and fet because I am now COVID proof as far as I'm concerned. I could survive anything if I could survive. You're talking big now. But quickly they find out the thing was fake because when I scroll all the way down and they say they say brass bacchanal. I see something in right. And then I keep seeing Carnival City, which was a real long time thing, but it's in Queen's Park, Savannah. But when I see parade of the bands, Monday traditional parade, I say, no. Rollers and them now open beach till 6 o'clock. They couldn't possibly be going this hard with these events. So I had to curb my enthusiasm and go back to normal COVID life and realize that none of them things really going to happen. But the Carnival seemed to be happening in some way, shape, or form. The Carnival this year looking like this, right? Well, let me read something here first. Not everybody in agreement with the fact that this Carnival is a great idea. I've seen something here saying, this is from CNC3 by Bhavita Gopal-chan. Taste of Carnival to cost between $20 to $35 million. All is set for the first Taste of Carnival event, which will be held on February 4th. That is Friday coming here. When is February 4th? That is soon. So I'll let you know if I'm going, right? This was announced by chairman of the NCC, Winston Gypsy Peters, who revealed that the event will be held virtually. Nice. What? That's what tweet. That's what they said. The Taste of Carnival was supposed to be an in-person thing. All right, it held virtually. This seems no different than what happened last year. It's going to start on the 4th with the first Calypso show being a virtual show. And after that, the Calypso tents are going to be open in full on the 11th. Nice, okay, so a virtual show to start off the Calypso tents, and then from that it will be open in full. So why the first show is virtual alone, I don't know. That might be a good idea to do a hybrid when you launch it the night and you show it online too for a price for people who are abroad and might pay to go, and you have it in person for people who usually, right. The media was given a tour this morning at the Queen's Park Savannah where pods are being erected for the upcoming slate of events. Peters noted that the pod style was similar to what was used in Canada for events. He also confirmed that the NCC is in discussions with several private promoters but could not confirm how far those discussions had reached. What it is? Because these are the people who showing Lamert telling me supposed to make us into to grow the economy and make us into billionaires. The people who watching Chuck E. Cheese close down, selling Trinity Mall. These are the people who supposed to run Angostura into becoming one of the most globally competitive rum brands they have, so all of us can improve our quality of life. Because there's no problem with it, right? This article is dated the 31st of January 2022. I on this podcast here every week asking about a carnival since last year, July. If so late. Must see since carnival last year, I asked him, what was the plan for carnival this year? Granted, you can't know what the numbers is when you reach to this point. You don't know what your vaccination levels will be. All these things are true, right? But how that could stop you from planning? So let me go back to my example of trying to lose a little weight and get a little fitter this year, right? I couldn't possibly know that when I sit down and think with Neola and we discuss a New Year's, what you call it thing now, resolution episode or a goal setting episode, that the week after I record that and come out, I would dislocate my finger. And within a week after that in January, I catch COVID and I had to sit down for 2 weeks. And that the week after recovering from COVID, I'm so tired when I exercise, I had to sleep for the rest of my life to recover. Who could have foresee all that? I couldn't foresee none of that. But that does say that I wouldn't plan. All right, I'm going to ride this morning. I'm going to not eat sugar. I'm going to do this. Why wouldn't you plan out where? How come the 31st of January, where on any given carnival, right, in a normal year, we would have done pass through about 50, 60 different events at the end of January. I, as a man, don't like to fet in January too much. Like you see the early fets like Mocha and thing. I just try to avoid them things to a certain extent because, to be honest with you, I just want to spend out all my money for Carnival. A year after Carnival, we talking about economics and thing. A year after Carnival, I sit down and I write down how much money I spend. Playing mass, going fete and this and that and all inclusive. I scratch all inclusive off my list completely that year. I used to go Lara Fete every year, done with all them things. I only going Cooler Fete now where I could carry my own liquor. My liquor right in front of me, I could drink and thing. I like a Cooler Fete. And I like a small fete too, 350. When both of we going is a 700 and I drop taxi, that's the whole thing. $1,000 again, we in and out of there, we eating, we drinking, we getting, we drop taxi and we going home. You know what I mean? Whereas you're paying for Lara Fete, maybe 1,500 at different times for the ticket alone, you know what I mean? I'm not doing that no more. And then you have to buy nice clothes to go. I'm done with that. So, at a point like now, I know prime to start to go fet because I fetting on January salary. I stop this thing with whole January. I fetting and I can't make the end of January. So all this, I see they say out in South would have been gone already this a couple weekends ago. That is the time I know looking to creep out, you know what I mean? I'm talking to Sheppy and them from Kairi People. I'm trying to find out if they're doing events and things. He's like, boy, we planning. I guarantee you that when Barney and them looking to plan a fete or Kairi People looking to plan runaway or breakfasts or different or any one of them men must never start to plan at the end of January in their life. How you go plan at the end of January for an event that you have it? What is this, the fire festival? How we know starting to plan these things? I don't know what. This is the government. So this is who we dependent on for our economic progress. It couldn't be I agree with Sabga 100%. Sell every share all you have in every company and facilitate business people. Let business people run the thing na papa. Because, let me give you an example, right? So, to my guy Kevin Farrick and the family are here, all you going melee, all you showing off on people, all you going melee. I feeling like to just jump out and go melee too. You know, when you see the monkey do it. But look how long they planning melee. They couldn't plan for COVID and know that the thing we say last Marshall Monday and now COVID come and we had a boat ride and everybody pay already. But now we can't do that. So we have to refund people the deposit and keep the deposit if you come in the land version of melee. Nobody could know all that was happening. But how that going to stop you from planning? Them people had a melee thing going on end of April, early May in Cancun. Packages selling, people going, even if it's in Score is not the biggest. I put in more faith in people like Dean Akin and Jules Sobian and Hoppy and Kairi People and any private investor who going into a business. I put in more money on them because them don't want to lose money and they will take the hard decisions and they're not doing it for FaceTime or political currency and all those types of things. They're not interested in them things. They ain't saying the whole time telling people don't get no vaccine is poison and they're wicked with the vaccine, and then when they get elected they're running to take vaccine and tell people about protecting their family. Private business owners don't have these kind of interests. They don't have these kind of burdens of trying to pull wool over people. They're trying to make money. This attitude that when them make money we vex, I don't like that at all. Let we make money too now. What ideas all they have? Let we join in the 1% now. Let we come up with something innovative. Let we stop saying small business and we little thing and we little side hustle. Let we stop saying them things and invest in ourselves and create our ideas into multi-million and multi-billion-dollar businesses and create generational wealth. There's a health and wealth episode. So Gypsy and them, let me just continue reading. The media was given a tour this morning at the Queen's Park. So, oh yeah, I said that already. Where I reach? Oh, that was the whole article. That makes this even funnier. The estimated budget for the series of events is between $25 million and $35 million. Hey, I like these people too bad. And these are the people we dependent on. But listen, I couldn't say as eloquently what I want to say as what the greatest artist in the history of soca music had to say on Ojo this morning. This is coming directly from Ojo. I hope they didn't take it off and make me pull this down, because this is directly from Ojo Breakfast Series. Salute to Super Jaiga TC, the boss of the Audrey Rhythm. Abeo, Jackson, what's up on this podcast all the time. Everybody in the morning drive, it is. What's the morning thing on 96.1? Morning drive. I should be more prepared to talk about this. But wait to listen to what Farmer Nappy had to say about the taste of Carnival, right?
You see what's going on with me? I don't want to open my mouth, you know.
Open it, Nappy.
Because if I open my mouth, they go say Farmer hush up your mouth.
Nah, open it.
They tell me to have a late carnival.
Yeah.
Which everybody know it never had a carnival. It's a money val.
What?
We not on the money val. You know why?
Why?
Listen me.
Why?
If you take a knife and you cut my skin, I show you go see. We share the same blood.
Well, the farmer is angry.
We not on the money carnival.
What?
Don't tell me about you more blessed than me. Your man, take away everything and then tell me who you'll be. The
right?
Of a carnival. There's a carnival. No way. No way. Trinidadians, put up your hand because we ain't more than
yeah, man.
I want to say, on fact, we're not taking that. We're not taking no push. No push. This is a taste of carnival.
Taste, yeah,
all
taste.
the time. November, December, bang smell. Let me open my mouth now.
Let me hear.
Low. Let me open my mouth. Because Chow tell me you're a lawyer for me. Chow say you're a lawyer for me.
Don't know about that.
November, December, nothing. January.
31st.
All you have a carnival. All you're looking for infrastructure money to put in all your own pocket. We're not on all you. We're not on all you. Because say we're going now. What about the corn soup man?
Yeah.
What about the man who does sell the little hemp and the cigarette? What about the lady who's selling the flag?
Right.
What about all them places around in the savannah where they just get a little sale every day for carnival? All you're calling this is a taste of carnival. This is a money val. You know what we say? Why? If you take a knife and you cut my skin, I'll show you go.
All right, farmer. All right, farmer. Farmer, your blood pressure. Farmer, your blood pressure, farmer. Only sorry, I can't show the people thing on YouTube. I'm taking a chance to play audio, but what he says is so important. People write to know. It reminds me of talking about this last week with Sham for Gojo, talking about the sports. Like if we waking up on morning as Lloyd Best say government by VAPs, you know, we just finding out these things as we go along. Where was Gypsy all the time? Carnival don't start to plan no time in January. I ask any promoter you know when they start the planning for an event. Like get an idea when they start the plan. As a matter of fact, I'm going to see if I get Barney on the phone. Because I can't believe that we're talking about this in real life. Let me see if he answers.
Yo.
Win Shepherd.
Oh.
You may or may not be recorded and be talking on behalf of Kairi People, right? I have one question for you, boy. When all you're planning an event, what is your lead time? Like, say breakfast is usually a Carnival Sunday, right? When is your first step towards planning that? Was be how far from the Carnival Sunday?
So I know you're asking that against the backdrop of how long it would take if we get the green light now to throw a party, right?
Asking it because I was just surprised that on the 31st of January, I read an article here saying that we have a taste of Carnival in preparation for this. And I'm trying to figure out if Oli would have now start to be planning events at the end of January for this Carnival this year if it was a normal Carnival.
Nah, no. But we plan our events long in advance. We sit down months in advance and plan.
Right.
But let us say they were to come now and say we having our Carnival,
right?
Or they could go ahead and throw events. We would be ready. We would be ready.
And that coming from some years of experience or just doing it for so long?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
It comes from years of experience and knowing the venue that you're throwing the event at or hosting the event at.
Right.
You know the logistics required for that, for that location.
Right.
You know I said event, but I'm talking about the locations that you're throwing the events at. You know them, so you know the logistics, you know the amount of people you're planning for. That sort of thing.
Yeah, suppose if you get short notice, your setup ain't going to be much different from what you do the last time and all that too. You just go with something familiar. Got you.
Correct. But the problem comes now with getting the license. The license required.
Right.
You need a certain amount of lead time for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and with COVID, we don't know how, with this new normal, we don't know how efficiently the court and fire and police and all of these places dealing with processing these things.
Now, will Gypsy and them have that under control? And if they already go ahead now, only doing all that online, and within an hour or two, you have all the licenses you need. This government is P&M, is P&M in power.
Right. So as I might be on air, I'll just say, okay.
Because I say I don't call it because I see Farmer Nappy upset on Ojo this morning.
When
you know, he don't have a style of performing that's light angry. He was angry this morning. He have an angry style, as much as he's singing happy music. But I agree with him because he's trying to say, all your comments we know about a taste of Carnival and thing, and it's not collaborative with the artist to understand what the artist needs, what the artist doing, and you let October, November, December pass. I am all surprised because when I see the new year come, I say, well, that is it for Carnival. I can't believe that it's still they're now putting up pod in the Savannah and thing.
The Promoters Association acted responsibly, had meetings among the different entities that the Promoters Association represent, which isn't just the promoters but artists and all of these different things, right? We had discussions here. We put forward our executive put forward a proposal. The government was willing to have meetings with government, discuss with them, and at the end of the day, they did something totally separate. So, and the things about it is, I read an article by a misguided person indicating that in this time the promoters and them still want to do the same thing in this time, saying that that we didn't take things into consideration. if that person had taken the time to educate itself on the proposals by the Promoters Association, you would see that it is a responsible approach to having events. So, government, the NCC, and they're going to have events now, right?
Of course, and they're going to do it responsibly.
Right. So if the person had taken the time to educate themselves, they would have seen that the approach the promoters were going to take is even more in line with best practice than what's going to happen now. But
well, before I comment on that, right, let me ask you this. How long ago Oliver started that process of making proposals?
This was early 2020.
I would think so.
This was when they were still trying to see, and you will hear Sheppy say that he was real hopeful of Carnival all in 2020. Sorry, not 2020. Yeah, 2020 going into 2021 Carnival. Sorry,
that's
2021. Yeah. Sheppy was real. It had people very hopeful of doing events in around Carnival time 2021. Then we were saying maybe it could happen later in the year.
Right.
So all along, we were meeting and having discussions among the promoters. We have a WhatsApp group where ideas were being put forward, were put in a document, and was sent to the relevant authorities. They had something that did not embody anything from what was discussed before.
Well, what's funny to me is I remember you talking to you real early in COVID when we first started realizing it's not going to have a carnival, right? And you sent me an image of a event with almost the same kind of separation with pods. You remember that back in the day?
Yeah. Of course.
So to see them men doing this so far on and so close to the thing where they're billing this and saying that the 4th of February starts with a virtual is making laugh. But what I wanted to say about...
But my question is this. How come they could do that and it's okay? How come promoters can't do that?
Well, I would say this, right? People have a way of looking at things, and I see some people, I was just talking about some people who break down the economy of Carnival before, where people seem to think that Carnival is two things. It's a wine and jam for irresponsible people, and it's a money grab for fat promoters who turn in overnight millionaires, right?
But those people don't understand the industry and how much downstream
of course
people it have been fed by that industry.
But I would say this about the person who write the article as well, because I had read what you're referring to there. And I was thinking the same thing, because we talk about people sometimes in a bubble, to use a term like that, right? Promoters is take care of our safety every single carnival for decades now, and we never question it, because when you're going into an event, right? Like when I remember when in different you could get a bacon shack and you drink same time. Yeah, the event was small. To now, with the difference, one of the biggest events in Carnival. I see breakfasts from year one to the last time when breakfasts I can't reach by the stage again. And when you are there among the people in a venue, you know how much things could go wrong. You know what I mean? And promoters do everything. When we come up there, especially a man like me who drunk before I reach and bareback midway through, I never feel unsafe to the point where I feel like I'm going to get trampled. Promoters always do a good job in our carnival, taking care of us on the road or in fets or anything. So I don't see how somebody could come up with something saying that promoters all of a sudden, in a more dangerous time where we need more protocols in place, all of a sudden promoters go get irresponsible and just have a wine and jam like if it's a zest.
Yeah.
I don't understand the idea.
It feeds a certain narrative.
Of course.
It feeds a certain narrative, and a lot of people just they do not sit down and think critically. They just go along with what whoever talks the loudest, that is the person we listen to. We don't question what they're saying. We don't look at what you're saying there. Before you even come in the event, look at how much security promoters is put in place with parking and all of those other things.
Of course.
You understand? So just so now, because we have something here that is, it is how to put it. There's a situation we've never encountered before, right? we seeing the cost of it and things. So we just go in and close our eyes and pretend we didn't see it and not try to put things in place to deal with that. The rest of the world dealing with aspects of this thing, starting to have events and that kind of thing.
And
we can't take the best from that and try to apply it here. We wouldn't do that.
Even to add to that, you all have people in the Promoters Association who did events abroad during COVID too.
Exactly.
That could bring some of them things. But
exactly.
But what year you had your first event, Kairi People?
That was 2002, 2001. 2001.
Yeah, you're talking about 20 years. So you could just throw your whole reputation where you build from scratch in your good name to just throw a super spreader event to make money.
Correct. Because well, let me try and make all the money we can make now and don't make no money again. Let me do that.
Yeah, let me finish. Money, we making enough now. Bank.
The logic escapes me, but it's just how to keep quiet. It's just how to keep quiet. This is a different time. It asks for a different kind of thinking, collaborative thinking, and I don't know. I don't know if everybody on the same page going forward here. And when I say everybody on the same page, the promoters have come together. The people who drive Carnival have come together and tried to put out a best practice document on how we go forward from here. And nobody want to take it on, but people standing up from their own pulpit and saying that the promoters this and that and they were bad. So what we gonna do?
Well, the men spent $25 to $30 million to put on the NCC
this
events.
Is what I say. This is what when I see that now, I don't know.
Well, boy, listening out, because whatever all you do in that, because I've vaccinated, I'm gonna get boosted, I don't get COVID. So I good to go. If I only get the green light, I ain't wherever it is.
When that green light go come, boy.
When it's Carnival Monday, if I get this Sunday night for the mash grab.
Taste that Carnival.
You gotta taste. Carnival weekend, everybody will get excited and come back through.
the other thing too, if they truncate the Carnival, if they go now and they say all right, or they have the green light, so go ahead.
Right.
Is everybody have the events? Where they going to have it? Where they going to have?
Yeah.
You're going to run into a problem with who is the person who can have the events now when everybody trying to have the events in limited spaces? It don't make sense.
Of course. And why would you leave it till the end of January? Such a confuse. Like, why you couldn't do these things last year? Or regardless, nobody can predict what the numbers will be, is the point I was making, right? But if you put plans in place, what we'd be doing now is making adjustments rather than now be making plans.
Exactly. All of that was suggested. All of that. But say what? This is how it works.
Before I let you go, if they're doing August and it planned well, the intention is for the promoters to do events like Carnival around August time, where they say they're having a party season. I hear Randall Mitchell talking about that.
Well, again, this was one of the suggestions that we had put forward for September, to have something in September. But I don't know.
Okay, you don't know that yet.
If Randall Mitchell says it, I suppose it's his idea.
Wait.
Come up with it. So,
well, when I hear him say it, right, to the layman who not involved, when I hear him say something like that, I thinking, well, everybody like you all done on board with this and all you know what it's going to look like and thing already. The government can't have no Carnival.
Well, what are you talking about? In August or
yeah,
no?
I thought like they tell all everything that's going to happen for August already and all your plans being made. Like no would be a good time.
It's the other way around. We put forward something and we didn't hear nothing back, and then Mitchell made
an announcement.
Yeah, so
nice.
This is how it works. So get yourself in order.
Beautiful.
Get yourself in order. But if it happens in August, they go send pictures to me.
No. Well, then you busting out.
Yeah, they go send pictures to me.
No, but I come in. Whenever it happens, I come in. Because I think I safe at this point.
We ready.
All right,
I know I'm telling you. We ready.
That's good news.
If they say X date, we ready. We plan. We have everything set down there already. It's just to execute.
All right. Well, it sounds good. Well, all right. Well,
just to execute.
All right, so thanks a million. I'll say how to call you and find out because this is the funniest thing I read now. Why? When the Burdie and Barney podcast coming back, people asking, these streets need content.
So, well, you know, as the person who's really carry the show myself, right? I make myself available, but there are some other elements. I like Bird fella. There are some other elements that is dragging the flag right. You talk to him now.
Like Bird writes in Calypso. I'll go and call him. Let me see if he answers.
It's like Gary going off the scene, so it's not no libel. It's not no libel. But hopefully we would have one. We'll be looking to record next week.
Right.
That's not the word?
Yeah, February is the word. February is the word.
All right, cool.
All right, good. We got to think. I'll call him.
All right, man.
All right, man. Thanks, yeah. So you heard from the men themselves, right? Kairi People is ready. Different by Runaway, by Breakfasts, by Carnival Tuesday morning, Juve. I can't remember what it's called that. Nuve. So hopefully we go have something like that come August because if the promoters, and I mean, I really called to talk to Kairi People, but I was lucky enough to hear from a voice that coming from the inside of the Carnival, the Promoters Association. And if they're not clear on what allowed between now and Carnival, we in some trouble. But again, I just want to say the estimated budget for the series of events is between $25 to $30 million. So when you're here Farmer Nappy, before this article come out, talking about is a money val and they're not joining that and thing. And you know, he's right, because this is the whole point I'm making about private versus public sector. Not to beat a dead horse, but the role of the public sector should still be just to facilitate the business people is who we are to let run the business side of it, because profitability does take care of itself. If you can't figure out how to make a product that people want and are willing to buy for a profit, you're going to be a business go bust. It's very, very simple. So business by nature, the best of the best will survive. Except if you're in a very, very corrupt country, of course. But when it comes to government, you could simply make decisions like these. Show up. I see the old Gypsy in the Savannah on Monday, in the last day of January, inspecting Carnival pods that apparently they had pictures of since 2 years ago in the Savannah itself that never come off, but the Carnival pod. So what I will say is this. If it's a Carnival pod selling, can I go a little Calypso tent, boy, and hear some Kaiso, boy? What have that could go? Because I would have think that by now, with my January salary in my hand right now, and my January salary tends to be very slippery, I would think they could put out a list of events now to let me make a budget for, it don't even allow you to budget your money to say, well, I will go this, I ain't gonna go that and thing. But when I see them pods being built, the first thing I remember is Soca was in the Savannah last year, and I hoping they have a fete like Soca, where I could go and get wet down in a pod. Because when we go Soca, it's a little squad we roll with anyway, and that space for the cooler there. I don't know how you're going to take a leak. I guess if you're going to take a leak, you're going right among all the other people. And, Trini know plenty people, So when we pass through, and you see our next pod with some people who you had, and you see your cousin on one side, you go by them. And what about the bar? Like, they're having waitresses or something? I like that, I like if people could bring your drinks for you. But if it's a cooler party, I could carry my cooler, go in my own little pod there. And I guess it's only one thing could make me leave there if you had to visit the boys, you know what I mean? But let me see what private promoters do. Again, I want to say it is a dangerous prospect when the government, who's supposed to be facilitating business, making it hard for business people. Because good business people are going to find a way to make money regardless. And if you have people like Kairi People, or Scorch, or Tribe, or whoever the biggest promoters in Carnival, who say, here what's going on. We ain't going through this again. So the exact same thing we do here and the exact same calendar we have in Trinidad, we're going to get permission from the government of Jamaica, who's I'm just saying if they facilitate it better and they allow it, let's go and get permission from them to do the Carnival there. Or let me go Broward County in Miami. And we have a good relationship with them. We'll go with the same proposal we have for Trinidad and Tobago government. And we'll go ahead and do everything there. Same events, same time, you'll find different venues and stuff, but we keep the same schedule. So breakfast is Carnival Sunday morning, Private Ryan is Carnival Saturday whole day, however you do it, and you do it over there. When you watch the little bit of hotel room we have and thing that we be talking about, when I see Randall Mitchell himself talking about hotel rooms generating $500 million, that's $500 million, and that was 5-6 years ago. When you go to a place like Miami that have multiple times the amount of rooms we have to accommodate people, right? They have multiple levels of rooms. So they have Airbnb that you could get for $30, $40 a night, all the way up to Airbnbs and big houses that you could get for thousands of dollars a night. So you could get big all-inclusive hotel rooms, you could get up the ultimate luxury, or you could hit a days in and pay small money every night and go and run around and get your food and thing if you want, right? You also have outside of the fetting that these promoters could carry to a place like Miami and do the same events. You also have much more things to do in a place like Miami, because now you could go and shop, you could go and play with alligator and all them kind of things like people like to do in the Everglades. You could go and sightsee, you could go down South Beach and go in the Art Deco. There's so much more for you to experience outside of the carnival that a destination carnival in a place like Miami. Or use the example of somebody like Tribe, who already going and have a test for what is going to happen in a place like Cancun now. And they have plenty of tests all over the world because they've been doing Carnival as a roving festival outside of Trinidad Carnival. But the day these promoters come the 2 days before Ash Wednesday and go and do those big events somewhere else and start to attract and market themselves to make their money elsewhere and make US dollars, which done so hard to get in this country, we go have a different problem, you know. We will be going back to that panorama. You remember the panorama they had the big lonely pool is the saddest thing I've ever seen, when one person in a blow pool in the middle of Savannah. That is what we're heading back to when the government trying to... Well, anyway, only get my point. Only see what it is I saying. The economy and the growth of the economy and all that we talk about before and Carnival and all these things can't really matter if people getting gunned down in South Park like that. Now, the South Park thing reached me. I don't know if people who are abroad might not have seen it, but there's a little mall called South Park in Saudi where you see a image going around with a car being basically riddled with bullets in the middle of the day when you're in South Park. Now, the reason, this not to say like this is new. It's not new to Trinidad and not new to the world. This is things you see all over the place all the time, right? But this is something that we had to get under control, boy, because what shake me up about this? When the place was locked down, my office is in San Fernando, right? I live in Shogunas. When I go and buy food in my spots in South Park, my spots in South Park is Maria's, Starlight, Starbucks. It had a time where you can't eat inside, right? So I used to buy my food and park up right in that spot, right? You see that little row where that car gets shoots up? That is where I used to park up and eat my little food and everything, and then I'm hungry before I drive back up to South. And I mean, I can't imagine having to, you know, and sometimes I'm tired to drive back up the road. I drop asleep right there, push back my chair, take a 5, and before I drive up the road. So that South Park thing shake me up because I say, but look how easy I could have been. The middle of the day is my time self. When I park up, they just getting something to eat. And car getting shoot up like that. And they interview some people. A man say he park up on that side there. When he going in the gym, they hear the shots. He said they couldn't believe his gunshots and things. So it makes you wonder. And this is against the backdrop of a battle that going on now between... I spoke about that report. I'm too tired to read through that whole report about Gary Griffith and the FUL thing and all that. And even more reports coming out now about people who were pulled in under Gary Griffith and how much they were getting paid, and they can't justify the jobs that the people doing and so on. And McDonald Jacob and the stats. Remember McDonald Jacob's statistics the other day? Salute to McDonald Jacob. It's one of the best I've seen. But the whole Gary versus Rowley versus McDonald Jacob and all that, you know, when you look at that against the backdrop of the type of crime that we have in, it could be disheartening. Like I saw in Wired 868, they had an article this week. It said irrational, erratic, disrespectful, accusatory, and unbelievable is Dr. Rowley's alleged issues with the then top cop Gary Griffith. This from the editor, I assume is Lasana Lightbird, on the 27th of January 2022. I consider your correspondence a threat, and as such, since you refuse to be guided and assisted and advised, I am to advise you that I will report this matter to the Minister and the Commission for the urgent attention. You are a person now out of control and cannot be allowed to continue this way. You flatly refuse to be guided to an acceptable pattern of behavior. The following correspondence appears to be a letter from the Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley to the Police Service Commission from the 16th December 2020, which signaled a loss of confidence in the then Commissioner Gary Griffith. I will read a little piece of it, write it long. It says, after considered deliberation, I have decided to write you on the following matters that have given me cause for concern with respect to the suitability of Mr. Gary Griffith continuing to hold the office of Commissioner of Police. Let me make some pauses in between, right? I don't like the idea. Maybe this is. let me not talk before my time, right? Because maybe this is the best way for the Prime Minister to do it, to write to the Commission to express his concern. But the idea of the Prime Minister commenting on the suitability of an individual that's supposed to be independent, them things make me feel uncomfortable. But my little bit of knowledge about how a government does work, I find these things tricky. He said, I respectfully advise of the following. On Saturday, 12th of September 2020, in treating with citizens in general, I made the following statement at a press conference at the Diplomatic Center in St. John's. I said to my colleague, Minister of National Security, Stuart Young, where Trinidad and Tobago is, we expect that there would be firm and sustained law enforcement for those who believe that the only thing that they will accept and respond to is being restrained by a police officer. And as I say that, let me join this conversation now. In Trinidad and Tobago, we expect that law will be applied to every person regardless of race, color, creed, class, or social standing. Because those who believe that they're beyond the reach of this virus, you could say so for yourself, and that may suit you in comforting your irresponsible conduct. But in doing so, you pose a threat to the national community, and so on, right? So I think this was in response to Bayshore, or Bayside. And the fact that people were almost in the same week back then, you had some boys bathing in sea lots and thing who still let it be known that they don't care about Gary and thing. Them days it wasn't curfew and those types of things, but you couldn't gather in public places. I can't remember what was the issue, if it was at SOE at the time or what. Yeah, it had to be. No, that was before SOE, but there was something that you couldn't gather in public places, right? But after they find out about the boys in sea lots and thing, the next set of videos you see is boys lying down on the thing by the side of the thing, but sorry Gary and we sorry and all this kind of thing. And Gary, as he usually does, talks in his very bravado way, to say it with the chest kind of style about who is the king and who in charge and who's the sheriff in this town and all these nice things, right? And then almost in the same week or the next week, you see in a party in Bayshore where Gary kind of say, well, listen, that is private property and we can't come and do this and that. And it ended up being a public spat between the Prime Minister and the Commissioner of Police, which that ain't good for business at all. So I agree with Dr. Rowley in terms of the suitability of it. I just worried about him saying those words to commission. When you're the Prime Minister, I don't know is the weight of the words, especially when you put it on paper. Let me go on to say, it is not for me to tell the Commissioner of Police who to arrest and not to arrest and how to apply the law, but as Prime Minister, I could tell the Commissioner of Police the law must be applied to protect us in Trinidad and Tobago from those who are not prepared to listen and are not prepared to fight the fight we want to fight to bring this virus under control. We can do more, but we do the best with what we have. He said, it appears this disclosure of mine was interpreted by Gary Griffith as being offensive to him, and thereafter he made his own interpretation and then embarked on a course of behavior that is most unbecoming of a police commissioner of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. I can't say I disagree. Like a lot of the behavior of the Commissioner of Police is a little bit unbecoming of a police commissioner anywhere in the world. Like, I was talking about the boots on the ground and all those things, but how you ended up on a stage with Buju and you're just enough. You're a lot. You're commenting on people thing on Facebook. It's like you don't have the restraint. I don't even want to say like common sense, but no part of you feeling like, listen, I in public office as a top guy. I was Minister of National Security, accustomed to public life. My wife accustomed to public life. She was a former Miss World or Miss Universe or whatever the thing was. We've been doing this for a long time. I've been around the politics even before I was in the politics and thing. No part of you insane. Like just ignore all this. Like when people say things on Facebook and thing, why would you respond? That's one of my biggest gripes with him. All the thing about the FUL, those things under investigation, I will never understand that well enough to make no judgments as to who corrupt and who ain't corrupt and them kind of things. That's above my pay grade. But when you have a Commissioner of Police who just responding to people via social media and every single thing that happened, he had to come out and respond that even last week when they had this report coming out, he had to do a Facebook release and an Instagram release, and it's like, dude, listen, your office is too powerful an office to be using it for pettiness. And I think this is where you see a lot of people who are against him would be saying this from the beginning. And I might be one of the people who saying, listen, it's good to have a commissioner you're hearing from and thing, but the people who wiser than me were seeing it coming a mile away, where every single thing that happened, you find yourself having to respond to. Every reporter who writes something about you, the wicked and the bad, and as I get Gary campaign and all this, it's like how involved you could be with yourself. Like I worry about Gary Griffith not just as commissioner, but just as a person. Like what going on with you? What going on in your life? Like that you ought to be so self-centered that all the issues in the world ought to be about you, and anything that anybody say against you, whether it's true, it's untrue, it's made up, it have a glimmer of truth to it, you find yourself having to deal with Facebook comments. They have DMs. I think in this article self, the editor of Wired 868 had put up a screenshot of her DMs. Was it in this article I saw that? Yeah. The image is from a Facebook inbox with Gary Griffith as the person responding. This is a citizen, a civilian. And the caption is, a female social media user gets a surprise message in her inbox after criticizing the behavior of Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith during a Facebook Live. The message from the commissioner, the sitting commissioner of police, 6th of September 2020 or 9th of July or 9th of June 2020. You ever looked at how you look? The mirror might crack. Listen, I don't want to talk about this too much. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. The COVID signs are acting up. No, negative. I forget. The long COVID acting up on me. I just want to say this, right? That I have a song to play. Because the great Ken Marlon Charles have a song here that pretty much embodies the way I feel about this whole thing. And I'm talking about both sides of the fence here, right? Both Rowlers and Gary Griffith is like, dude, too much. If we just have people who focus on doing them fellas' job, you know what I mean? You have a manifesto, you come to do some things for the country, you focus on that. You come in with a mandate to police and to, you know what I mean? Do what you have to do. If you just focus on that and stop with the kind of pettiness. So I loving how Patrice Roberts, drink water and mind your business, is the world anthem. I see Jada Pinkett Smith drinking water and minding your business. That song get legs of its own and that just gone. And you know, this is a sad thing about not having a carnival. No, when you have a song like that, you don't count all that money for the carnival. If it's a let me say it's $2,000-3,000 or $5,000 a show or whatever money there is, make a show. And you know you're good for about 50 show that carnival. You're supposed to be sweet plus tour the world for the rest of the year without mind your business. But the great Ken Marlon Charles come with a song here that I feel it's so applicable when you see men behaving like this.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. Yes. So wait now. Everything is yes, boy. Yes. What? So happen to know. It must have a balance. Is yes or no. Everything cannot be yes, boy. We don't want no yes man around me. No. Where's that? No. Boy. We don't want no yes man around me. Where's that? No. No. I'll keep him a circle small. But we don't like the yes man at all. I keep him a circle small. Cause we don't like the yes man at all. They're always smiling. Teeth always showing. And everything is yes. They're always gaping and always watching. Yes, everything is yes. Boy, we don't want no yes man around here. No. Where's that? No. Boy, we don't want no yes man around here. No. I say I don't like Colonel Robert Still's song. You say you don't like it too.
Yes?
And now I listen good and say that I like the song. Yeah, you. Yes, I like the tune. Them always gaping. Teeth always showing.
Listen, KMC again, my heart rates up to thing again, tired fast and I can't think too much of that, you know what I mean? As a groovy man, to my heart, you know. Hey, again, I'll tell you, hey, what's going on? Ozark is one of the best series they ever made. Again, through the rest of the topics fast, I tired in real life. Ozark is one of the best series they ever made. Go in thinking Ozark, and I real upset how Ozark just finished. I was just watching it, and when I tried to click to the next episode, when the baddest part come, it just had no next and the thing finished. I wanted to cry. I don't wanted to cry with what happened in Ozark already. And then I just wanted to cry because I had nothing else to watch and I was still in lockdown and quarantine and things. Ozark only come good with that season. Anybody know when is the next Ozark season? I hope COVID kind of wrapping up now, England is free and I hope the state's free too. I hope all done in production for Ozark. I can't wait till next year and 2 years and things. I'll already be busting this somewhere around February, March. We can't wait too long to find out what is happening next. You know what I mean? On Netflix, it had 2 comedy specials that you had to go and watch. As a stand-up comedy man. It have something called The Stand-Ups. Go on The Stand-Ups and watch Brian Simpson. This isn't particularly, if you like Dave Chappelle and that style of comedy and thing, my comedians on Netflix, in terms of talking current affairs and talking real issues, particularly black issues too. You hear them talk a lot about the BLM thing in the States. Dave Chappelle and Michael Che. Anyway, they treat with it. They're funny. They always talk current issues. I like their style of comedy. But that Brian Simpson, I don't know who he is. It's the first episode in the stand-ups. The man come out the gate. I go sell out one of the things he say, right? But I ain't go sell out the joke. The man say, open in line. The man say, black people asking for reparations. How much years? They say, we have no money for that. They can't pay black people no reparations. They go bankrupt the world. But that pandemic come and they start to lego trillions of dollars on people. Your stimulus package for PPP loan for this, for that. Listen, it has so much truth behind the comedy that this man do. The man do good. I don't know where he come from. I hope to see more from him, but taking that Brian Simpson. The next one you had to watch is Aziz Ansari. Now, Aziz Ansari had 2. He had one on Netflix maybe a couple years ago where he had addressed this issue where he kind of get Me Too, right? A sexual harassment thing. And that was a real good piece of stand-up comedy. The whole show, that was excellent from beginning to end. It was real good to watch. But he have a new one now in 2022 January here. And it's short. It's just a half hour. I wish it was a full special. I don't know why he just do half hour. But I think he say he changed up his lifestyle and things. So he ain't doing anything for money no more. He doing what he love to do according to him. But listen, in that half hour, it do have a wasted word. It's one of the best specials I see. So Aziz Ansari, in a way, kind of positioning himself like Chappelle. Watching him, some of the things he do and thing. One of the things he says he done with smartphone, he go on to flip phone and all that. Take it in for yourself. But you see how Chappelle remove himself from Hollywood and then come back with a different perspective on life in America as a whole and able to talk about it using his comedic style, but talking about very, very serious issues and polarizing. Somehow Aziz Ansari is there, and it's so strange to see the comparison between both of them, because in Dave Chappelle early comedy, in his early specials, you could kind of see that he was going to be a current affairs type person as he mature in comedy, because of the type of topics he used to take on even at an early point, even one of his earliest specials. I can't remember the name of it offhand. But Aziz Ansari was such a comic kind of comedian, you know what I mean? I don't remember him taking on any heavy topics or issues, but it seemed as though when it reached him with the Me Too thing and he had to talk about it, he handled it so well, and now his comedy is so introspective and so reflective of the society. I can't talk no more about it at all. And the last thing I want to leave you with is they have a podcast that I want to pull you on to. I like these fellas a lot. Another local podcast, right? And now I had to admit that a part of the reason I might like these fellas a lot is because when I listen to them, they share a lot of the opinions that I share. That might be such a healthy thing. But I like taking them in, and they have a good rapport between one another. It's Naldo and Jude from the Alternative Perspective podcast. If you look for APP868 on any one of the podcast apps, you'll find their podcast, and they're on YouTube too. They're doing a much better job of me putting up the YouTube and having shorter clips. So when they talk about specific topics, they just put them as little snippets on YouTube. So you could take in a half hour, you could take in a 15 minutes on a particular topic if you don't have the time to take in a whole episode or anything like that. So them fellas doing a real good job. Salute to Naldo and Jude. I like the vibe of the podcast with 2 of them talking, and it's too smart, it's too intelligent fellas. They have I like the little boy. It make me feel like I should get a little course, you see. My other producer here in the beginning of the episode, you notice saying here nothing from him again. The man gone. The man just abandoned me. Like, I need a co-host to bounce some of these ideas up, and so that the only opinion coming through here is not mine, because I like the rapport that them fellas have, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from them. That podcast is good. All right, so having said all that, I'm tired in real life. I'm going to sleep. I don't even know if I could have any time to edit this so that I could get this in time. Wherever you get this, just pretend it's early Tuesday morning, right? But I want to leave you with Umi Makano on the Stallion Rhythm. Stacey said this is her song, so I'm dedicating this to Stacey.
West Coast beats banging.
We're not in the crowd, girl, we're bubbling on the side.
Yes.
Music playing loud and everybody feeling high. Let me walk, you know you really want the wine. We don't like the crowd, so we're bubbling on the side. I want you wine to the side, girl. I want you bubble on the side. I want you roll to the side, girl. And we don't really mean to hide. I want you wine to the side, girl. I want you bubble on the side. I want you roll to the side, girl. Full enjoyment, you have the work of the employment. Make me book my appointment. Full interview, but out of you, yeah. She's a f***ing tease. Me want stick together like some bread and cheese. Hennessy and Magnum, so she getting noise. Wine to the side for me, girl. We're not in the crowd, girl. We're bubbling on the side. Music playing loud and everybody feeling high. Let me walk, you know you really want the wine. We don't like the crowd, so we're bubbling on the side. I want you wine to the side, girl. I want you bubble on the side. I want you roll to the side, girl. And we don't really mean to hide. I want you wine to the side, girl. I want you bubble on the side. I want you roll to the side, girl. Cause I don't really want girl. Let me weigh in. Girl, your body's amazing. Every time I pass, I'm gazing. Real talk, I see ya. Cool wine in the corner like a freezer. Me nah no girl, you know I'm a man neither. For now. We're not in the crowd, girl, we're bubbling on the side. Music playing loud and everybody feeling high. Let me walk, you know you really want the wine. We don't like the crowd, so we're bubbling on the side.
Bubbling on this side. We bubbling on this side. On these pods, we on this side. Listen, anytime it's our pods, Trinidadians is wine to decide people. So I want to see how much policing them gonna do when they try to make we fat in pod. And next to the pod, next to you, you start to make a friend now and drinks start to pass from one pod. So if you want to see people throw whole cooler, police gonna have a hard time in them fat. But that's it for me. I'm tired. I'm gonna take a 5. And hopefully I wake up in time to edit this podcast. So if you don't see this Tuesday morning, it's because I oversleep. Bye. Have a good week.